Okay, so let's do it. Let's actually do the last step here, which we've been introducing some really great fundamental concepts. We've introduced to functions, been introduced to event listeners, and now we're going to do decision making, right? So not only decision making, but also how to update the page. So I actually could have expanded this, but for now, this will work. So I've already grabbed these first two items and I have them in my code, right? So after inside the handle button click function, right, that is called when somebody clicks the button, but it's been set up on the load of the page. The DOM has ready and ready to go. So after we set up the message, right here, let's put it below here, which would make more sense. We're going to say if. So if some condition. Now this condition is going to what we call evaluate to true or false. So, and I'm just going to write it like this for now so that you can start seeing and understanding what's really happening, right? So if something is true, now that what we're going to write here is an expression. Okay, if it's true, then this will run. Console.log, right? This will run. Else, okay, now, you don't have to do the else. You could just have an if there, and maybe it does some work here. So else would be if it's true, this runs. And then if it's false, then this runs, right? So then we could just put console.log, right? I should say to distinguish this, if true, this will run. And then I'd say, based on the way the code is, if false, this will run. Now, notice what JavaScript, and in this case the editor, is doing. Notice how this line is actually a little grayed out. And that's because the way we've written the code, it never get here. Because there's not a condition. We're just telling it it's true. Now we have to write a condition. It says, because this is how you make decisions based on if this happens, then do this. Right? It's the same idea of you making a decision. It's just done in code. So what's the thing that we want to make a decision on? It's like if the user clicked a certain number of times, then we're going to do something else. Maybe we're going to do something else. Okay? So let's actually now, so I just want you to understand what I'm about to do is evaluate it to true or false. Meaning when it evaluates the expression that we write, it will determine if that's true or false and then act accordingly. So I'm going to say if click, okay, if click count, and this is where it's really helpful to start, like greater than or equal to. This is why those operators and doing some additional research can be really helpful. If it's greater than or equal to 5, let's say, the user clicks, right? So either equal to or greater than 5. Now we could talk about if we could just do 5, sure, but we could also, and you're going to see this in the code as we write more elaborate code, why we want to maybe check for that condition. But remember, JavaScript's going to look at this, evaluate if it's true or false. So the first time we come through here, right, when it's called, we're going to add 1 to it. But now, if it's greater than a certain number, then we're going to do something different. So what's that something different we're going to do? Well, let's actually do that, okay? And I'm going to take this, right, for a moment. Actually, I'm just going to do this because now that we're writing the condition, it will change, right? And that's the idea. So now let's say message, right? So this message that we set up here is going to be plus equal. Not again. When we did plus equal up here, you may have thought, well, you can only use that on numbers. No, you can actually use that on text too, which is great. So we could do wow. Now you'll see why in a minute. I'm putting a space there. Wow, you are a super clicker. Okay? We got to have fun with this stuff. By the way, I should have been putting semicolons there and I didn't. My bad. Okay. Now, so if the user clicks more than 5 times, right? 5 or more. You might wonder, could it ever not? But okay, so then what are we going to do? So now this is where we get to write some code that actually changes a style, but until we write some more code, it doesn't get changed on the page, but we can change style. Remember the whole CSS thing. So we can say message display element. Now what is that? Scroll up if you don't remember. It is up here. It is that P that paragraph that we have an ID on, but we have a variable that represents it, right? So we can say that message display element, right, dot its text content, whatever that text is, right? We could say, in this case, right, is going to equal to like some content we add. So welcome, right? Just want to make sure I'm writing the right code for this particular one, right? Oh no, we add that in a minute. Sorry, my bad. So actually here, sometimes it's hard to do many things at one time. All right, so we're going to change the style here, because at this point we're actually going to change a style and we'll update some content in a minute. So we're going to say the style color, and this is when we get a little introduced to the idea of different ways in any programming language, but most specifically here, we can actually just give an actual string to say we want to color something purple. What do we want to color purple, right? So right now we know that this right here, we could give a purple color when the user clicks more than 5 times, 5 or more times, okay? Else, right, if it's not, because maybe we want to set it back to its default color. So I'm going to grab that for now, right, and come here, right, and then in here, now we could, and this is just starting to see the different ways we could set colors. So this is with the hexadecimal, and we could talk about what that means. But for day, and you'll see this in a minute, we'll just say if it's not greater than 5, right, you could just set it to this color. Okay, so that for now would be fine. But what we're also going to do in here, matter of fact, let's just actually see this run, because we can see it when they actually click, change the color. Yeah, let's see. I'm pretty sure that's true. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Matter of fact, let's set a breakpoint right here. Okay, so right now we're at 3, 4, 5. See, at 5, that condition greater than or equal to 5 is now true. So now we're going to take that message, right? Now, by the way, we haven't actually updated that message to the page yet, but we're going to do that in a minute. But notice how now, right, the message we set up here now has that additional content on it. But check out what will happen here is that color of that content got changed. You can see it right there, right? So let's just go ahead and do this. Now, look, so now it's purple because this line said update that color, right? So let's actually now, so what would happen if we click again? Let's let it run, right? It's still greater, right? So it won't be until the page reloads, but we haven't, oh, sorry, that's my bad. Let's come back here. What did I do? Yep. Sometimes you just click around too much. Okay. So actually, let's add that content now. Now that we've seen what this is doing, right? So now let's go back to our page, right? Because this just changes the code. Let's actually now change the message, right? That's on the page because we've been setting this message up. So now after this if block, because this is just going to change the color, but when we run this function, we want to say, message. So that message display element, right? Now we want to set its text content to equal this message that we've set up, this variable that has this string content on it. Okay? Cool. So now we're actually going to see it change not just the style, but we will also see it change the message. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and hit refresh. Let me take that breakpoint off and hit refresh here, right? So now documents fully loaded. We know that. We have an if block. The first time, now we see because of this text content. So the message text content is now equal to whatever we have. It says, Rio, you have clicked 1 time. And then we get the console message. 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Wow, you're a super clicker. Now, what we could do, though, after 5, right? Now it's 7, right? So what we could do is also set maybe another point. This is if click, and there's different ways to write logic here to think about that, right? And you might wonder, why are we even setting this other one, right? Because it's going to run through this block. Is kind of, and often when you're writing logic, you want to make sure you've kind of handled not only the true, but also the false case. And then you can nest these together, okay? Okay, so let me see if there's anything else in here I needed us to write. Okay. Yeah, the only other thing we could do here, based on the way I had laid this out, was actually we could set that initial message. Let's just refresh it, right? Will be updated on button click, right? So, and maybe we do something like this, just to add one more thing to our, hey, this is fun to do. So we could also, inside of this event listener, right here, after it, we could set message display dot text content here. And this would be whenever it's clicked for the first time, and we could say something like welcome, right? And then we could say welcome user, how about username? That would be much better, right? Username, and then give them a little content, because this is only going to show up. And let's finish it and then we can talk about it. Okay, click the button above or maybe below to start, because I think I have it. Actually, it's below. Below to start counting. Okay, so I'll actually say below, because the P is above the button. Okay, so let's actually do this. And now, just to kind of do full circle here, we can get rid of this inside of here, because, and what I like about doing it this way is we show you that, okay, first let's come back over here. Let's refresh, right? Ooh. Oh yeah, there it is. It took me a moment to realize. Yeah, welcome username, right? Click the button below to start counting. So, and then it changes. So what's nice about this message display element is we can put it several places. We can change its style here, we can change its text content here, but we can also change its text content on the load, right? So on the page load, and then whenever we click, then only the content here is getting updated because it's within this function, right? So 2, 3, 4, 5, wow, boom, you're great. And then we keep going. And now there's other conditions we could write otherwise, but hopefully this introduces you to a really fundamental concept in JavaScript, which is decision making. Okay, let's add this because I have some. So let's say we can change the color. So right here is where we change the color. Let's come here. Yep, let's actually get rid of this and put it there. Cool. We can change the style of it, and we can change the color. So that was actually together with that, right? We can update the text content, right? So this is here, right? There we go, right? And this is how JavaScript changes what's visible on the page. Is this really, now by the way, again, there's so many different ways we'll get to learn about doing this, but this is just kind of fundamental here. And notice why now maybe you understand why I put that space on the wow, right? Because once it came, then it gave me that extra space on there as well. Oh, that's right, because I did plus equal on the string. Because I was thinking if it's a anyway. All right, so this is your last one for this one, right? Hopefully this was fun decision making in JavaScript. All right, time to move on to your checkpoint for this one. There's your, by the way, I didn't talk about them, explain basic decision making in JavaScript. Ooh, that's 2. In JavaScript, how color is typically represented. We saw it both with a string today and also with a number, or in this case, a hexadecimal number. All right, talk to you later.